All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the How Can I Support My Child series. If you are here right now, then you are in the right place. Welcome to today's series. Dear parents, our children are depending on us, and the advantage that we bring to the table is going to be the advantage that our children have. And that advantage is going to come from the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that you are building. It doesn't end with the knowledge that you have or the knowledge that you are building. It also includes what you decide to do with that knowledge. Our job in this show is to share with you what we have learned, what we have practiced, what we have experienced, and how this has affected and has promoted our parenting. Yes, my job here is to help you support your child effectively. As a child support and motivation expert, I want to share with you the things that I have learned, the things that I have practiced, and the things that have given me effective results, and the things that I have learned from other people who are walking this journey, other experts, and from all the experiences that are out there that can make us the best parents that we can be for our children. So if you are here, I want to say welcome to the How Can I Support My Child series, the series where we answer questions that parents have about their parenting and how they can maximize the potentials of their children and how they can be effective or more effective as parents. My name is Maribeth Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources, and I am the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle. Have you heard of the Mastermind Circle? The Mastermind Circle is a peer mentorship and accountability group. We like to call it the foundation of we like to call it a foundation ground. Yes, the Mastermind Circle is a preschool for developing personal development. Many times we do not think that personal development is a thing because we think children are too young to start developing themselves. But what we have done and what we have seen, all right, through research, studies, we have come to realize that when children begin early, when children start learning early, when children are pointed to the right things early, where children begin to focus on empowering things as early as possible, then we help them sow the right seeds and we point them to the right things. And so as they grow older, they will build muscles in these areas. So by the time they become teenagers, we are not introducing skills that they could have learned since they were school age children or toddlers. So this is why we started the Mastermind Circle. So we can take children through a process, a preschooling process, to introduce them to developing themselves, identifying their hobbies, their interests, the talents that they have, and then using these talents to create valuable skills or to build valuable skills that will make them valuable. Yes, that will make them valuable as people. All right. The earlier we start doing this, the better for the children and definitely even for us as their parents. Today, we are answering the question Today we're answering the question, does my child need a lesson teacher? Oh my goodness, does my child need a lesson teacher? I know that this one is a very dicey one. Okay, it is one topic that people would argue till forever. And I am not here to argue with anybody. Okay, I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm just here to share principles and to share, principles and to point you to things that you may need to start looking at, okay, and base your decisions on whether to have your children have lesson or extra support, okay, how much of that you need, right, or how much of that you will need or not need. Okay, we want to point you to things that will help you begin to look at the why and the if, right? All right, so today let's look at it. Now I'm going to be basing my conversation today on some educational philosophies that have shaped my beliefs, right, in education, that have shaped my beliefs in how education should be. I hope by now you already understand that schooling is different from education. When our children go to school, when they go to traditional school, what exactly they are doing is they are schooling. Now, in a school, you can get educated, but education spans beyond what happens in the classroom and what is embedded in a school curriculum. Education is much more than that. Education is holistic. Education is holistic and it affects every part of a child's life. Being able to help a child grow through a system that will make them a transformed person. Okay, when we pass our children, when we pass people through a system that makes them transformed, a system that educates every area of their life, a system that makes them valuable, a system that actually helps them become people of value to the society. When we do this, then we are raising people who are educated. We are not just raising children who are academically sound. We're not just raising people who are academically excellent. We're raising people who are mentally excellent, who are physically excellent, who are spiritually excellent, who are emotionally excellent, who are socially excellent. Children who are excellent and wholesome, meaning every aspect of their life is being trained. Now, when we're doing this, then we can say that we are educating our children. All right. So now, what are these principles, right? Or what are these philosophies of education that have shaped how I parent? Because when you step down to read and you start looking at it closely, you would realize that if you are defining education properly, then you will realize that you are a big factor in your child's education. If you define education deeply or with insight, then you will see that you are your child's first educator. Yes, you are your child's first educator, and that education begins the day your child is born. Now, schooling begins when your child gets to a certain age based on the policy, in your location or wherever it is that the child is getting that education. All right. So it's different for different countries, different counties, different cities, and all of that, different states, and all of that. It's different. But schooling is schooling. I mean, schooling is the one that is different, and then different ages where the child can come in and all of that. And then the curriculum, of course, is different also. It could be it could be this curriculum or that curriculum, whatever curriculum entails in wherever you are. Now, education, on the other hand, begins from the day a child is born, and education, of course, can capture. Let me see if I can stop this. Sorry about this. Give me a second. All right, so and then education can capture not just one curriculum, it can borrow curricula or borrow content of different curriculum. It just meets the need of the child per time, right? It meets the needs. When you are educating a child, you are not concerned about following one tailored curriculum. You are concerned about the needs of the child per time. And if that needs requires that you mix and borrow and tweak curriculums or curricula, you will do that. That's what a real education is, especially if you have now understood as a parent that you are a part of your child's education, that you're a part of your child's education and you are playing a big role in that education. Now, this is what we are talking about. So, education can be eclectical, meaning it can borrow from different curricula, okay? Borrow from different curricula, and then you put that together as a parent and you use that to, help your children. Now, this is why I always say that whether you like it or not, every one of us is a homeschool. Every one of us is homeschooling. Okay, you're probably partially a homeschooler or you're a full-time homeschooler. If you are intentional, every intentional parent is a partial homeschooler, because being intentional makes you understand. When you're intentional, it just simply means that you understand that you are part of your child's education. When you become intentional, you understand that you are your child's first mentor, you are your child's number one teacher, and you are a part of your child's education. The moment you get to that space, it means that you become deliberate, and you tactic, what we call it now, you directly or indirectly create a curriculum. But what we preach to parents is, don't just assume that you have a curriculum, right? An imaginary one. Sit down and craft, something that will be some sort of a curriculum for you to educate, guide your children, so that you are leaving no stone unturned. So I'm going to be looking at briefly at three different education policies philosophies that have equipped, how I parent, or how we parent our children, and the approach, or that has equipped the approach that we use in the education and parenting of our children. All right. The first one is the Charlotte Mason educational philosophy. Okay. Now, this is an educational philosophy that believes that children should be respected. Okay, it believes that children should be respected and that education should be gentle and not fast-paced. So children should be respected, So in the way you speak to the children, in the way your expectations of the children, how you deliver that expectation, how you speak to the children, how you help the children learn, how you introduce the children to learning when the children are much younger, during their foundation years. And if you're following this principle, what I have done over the years is I have borrowed from this principle. And so even after my children's early years, I apply this principle even for my preteens and my school age children. Simple. Education should be gentle. The child should be respected, and the education should be slow paced, meaning that you are paying attention to your learner, your child in this case. You are paying attention to your child. You are paying attention to the child's needs, and you are going back to the drawing board every time to create strategies, to apply tools, and to provide resources that can help you support the child based on the child's need per time. And you are not in a hurry to see results. You are more concerned about the process. All right, you're more concerned about the process. So you are gentle in the education of the child, and you are actually fixed on how that process is going to take the child to the point where the child becomes educated. Now, this principle also believes that discipline is habitual. It believes that if we can create habits, if we can train habits, then the child becomes disciplined. Let me explain this, or let me throw some light on this. Now, Charlotte Mason believes that right from when your child is little, if you can introduce positive habits into your everyday life. For instance, the child wakes up. This is what we do when we wake up. Okay, I'll give you a few instances. We wake up in the morning, and the first thing that you do is actually kneel down and say a prayer. I'm just giving an instance. It could be different for you. Okay, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is kneel down and say a prayer. You finish saying a prayer, and the child understands the why. Remember, education should be gentle. Education should not be fast-paced. There should be a lot of explanation and understanding. The why should never be neglected, okay, in this principle, or in this philosophy. So the child understands the why. Why do I need to wake up in the morning and say a prayer? Okay, based on your values, based on your faith, you would teach the child why the child has to do that. Now, from that point, you come and you look for your parents and say, just examples. All right, you look for your parents and you give, parents a hug and greet them, and with, whatever goes with that in your family dynamics. Now, from that, you go and have a glass of water, because you give the child the reason why the child should have a glass of water, because it is good for digestion, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. Whatever it is that you have learned, whatever it is that you believe. Then after that, so you have this and you have introduced this, because these are the right, habits that you want to introduce to your child. These are the habits that you want your child to cultivate. These are the habits that you want to be a part of your child's education. This is how you are educating your child. Remember, I started by saying education is not schooling. Education is a way of life. When you teach your children, or when you take your child through a training that will affect every aspect of their life to help them become a transformed human being, this is you educating that child. Now, you're not just waking up and it is all about how the child is going to pass math and English. It is about the child's health. It is about the child's body. It is about how to keep healthy. It is about lifestyle. It is about how to, promote family bond from the moment the child wakes up, from when the child is 2 months old. These are the habits, or these are the activities that you have introduced into the child's life. Now, what do? You make these activities a part of the child's daily routine. So this is what the child does on Monday. He wakes up in the morning, he says a little prayer. At the point where the child is 2 months or 3 months, it means that when they wake up in the morning, you hold them and then you say a little prayer with them. When you finish, you give them a hug, and then if daddy's there, daddy gives them a hug too. If daddy's going to work, daddy gives them a hug too before daddy goes to work. And then you call their little brother or their little sister and they share that hug. What are you doing? You are educating the child on what it is that you would like to establish in their life. You are teaching them how to build family connection. You're teaching them social skills. You're teaching them spiritual. You are educating different aspects of their life. Now, the moment you make this a routine in your home and you are consistent, what you are doing is you are building or developing a habit in the child. As this child does this from when they are 2 months to when they are 1 year, this is what they do till they are 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. This is the routine in your home, right? For some people, you come and then the father blesses the child every day. This is you educating the child for when the child will become a father. This is you educating the daughter for what to expect in the father of her child. You are educating. It is spiritual education. You are educating. You are not just schooling. Right? Now, when you train these habits, and then there's a point where the child will brush their teeth. There's a point where the child will have breakfast. How do we have breakfast? Your social graces come in there. How you prepare for breakfast, how you sit to breakfast, how you eat, how you close your mouth when you eat. You are educating. While you are doing this, you are introducing habits. As you introduce these habits, and these habits are practiced consistently, that's why Charlotte Mason says that discipline is habitual. So that philosophy of education says from when children are little, introduce what you want to see, create a habit of those good practices that you want to see, and ensure that these habits are, that this becomes a part of the child. Now, when this becomes a part of the child, by the time the child is 15, you will not have to struggle, because you will not have to discipline the child to brush their teeth. You won't have to discipline the child to honor their father. You won't have to discipline the child to be kind to their brother. You won't have to discipline the child to study, because these were introduced as best of practices in your home, and these have been learned and it has been turned into a habit over time, and this has educated the human being, and this is how the human being lives their everyday life. So she believes that this is what education is. It's about habits, training those habits, internalizing those habits, and living by those standards. Do you agree with this philosophy of education? Now, this is one of the philosophies of education that I have connected with and I drive my parenting by. Did I know this from the very beginning? No. I learned this somewhere along the line and I applied it. Okay, remember, we're still talking about, does my child need extra lessons, lesson teacher, and all of that. Okay, I'm going to come to that at the end, but I want to pass you through these philosophies so that I can share with you my personal beliefs and why I believe this. I'm sharing these philosophies so that I can come back to you and share what it is that has informed my thoughts or my stance when it comes to whether my child needs the extra lessons long term, and all of that. All right, so let's go. That's Charlotte Mason. It's more than that. It's bigger than that. I mean, Charlotte Mason's belief around education is so beautiful. You should research, and look at that. Okay, she believes in so many things. She believes that lessons should be short, right? She believes that lessons should be short. Okay, children should gradually grow and spend more time in learning. It's a lot, so you can research that and see what that educational philosophy talks about. The other one that I base a lot of what I do on is the Montessori. Okay, the Montessori philosophy of education. We hear schools, all kinds of schools around. We tell you, we are Montessori school, Montessori school, and all of that. Yet our children will pass through the whole Montessori school system, and we don't even understand the principles behind the Montessori school. So the Montessori philosophy is one that you can actually take and actually practice in your home. So I run the Mastermind Circle, right? A peer mentorship and accountability group that we run for children between ages 6 and 5 months and 8 actually, and 13. These are the principles behind what we do at the Mastermind Circle. Principle of what we do in the Mastermind Circle. So when you come to the Mastermind Circle and your child does something and you tell me about it, and your child comes to a one-on-one session with me and I'm not yelling and shouting, what is wrong with you? Do you know I'm not doing that? Don't be perturbed, okay? Don't be worried. Don't say, this coach is not it. This coach is not doing it the way, no, because we don't need to do it. In the Mastermind, we are moving the children on a spectrum of motivation, from a motivation to determination. Children who have been with us in the Mastermind, one for a whole circle, the second circle, right? Children who have been with us for over a year, 2 years in the Mastermind, you'll be amazed, at how much they've grown. Because the goal in the Mastermind is to get the children to understand, to believe, and to take the front stage in living their life intentionally. So we don't do this by yelling and shouting and screaming and judging every action. We do this by applying the Charlotte Mason principle that says education should be gentle. All right, gentle, let the child understand the why, let it be gentle. It shouldn't be, hey, we must get results, we must get results. So when parents are shouting, I say, calm down. Let us build this habit. Let us build this habit. Let us walk through this habit. Let us encourage and stay there with the children. Now, are the children anyhow in the Mastermind? No, they are not. Most times, if you see children who are not applying themselves, you will check and see that the parents are the ones who are laid back and all of that. All right. So if you are ready, right, to support your children and you're ready to partner with us to support them, being supportive, and being ready to partner with them doesn't mean that you drop your own life and be following your children up and down. No, what we mean is that you're ready to stay in there, and then as we work with them, you understand what we're doing, and you are also applying what we are doing with them at home. I tell you, the results that we get when this is the case are amazing. We graduate teenagers who are productive, resourceful, and empathetic, so empathetic that honor becomes a thing in your home. Your teenager is vibrant, your teenager is productive, your teenager is resourceful. This is what we do in the Mastermind Circle, and this is what we're talking about, today. All right, so yes, your Montessori believes that children are innovative. The Montessori system believes that children can actually discover through their experiences. Okay, and so it believes in hands-on practice. So Montessori believes that children can actually learn through doing things, and they can learn from each other. Okay, so that's why you go to a Montessori system and you see that children between a certain age are kept together. So your child your child will be kept together with children who are slightly older than the child. They're all learning in the same room, because the Montessori system also believes in peer mentorship. It believes that children can learn by observing the people in their environment, observing their environment, discovering in that environment, applying themselves in that environment, and children learn through the experiences in their environment through different activities. So the Montessori system is activity driven. All right. So your children comes to school, and your child is able to choose the activity that they want, to do. And through that activity, the child is able to discover space. Spatial discovery, all kinds of, oh, sorry, I'm not understanding this today. Sorry about this. Every morning now, why did you do that? All right, so my studio is a bit dark. Should I shut my camera for a bit, or let's just go with the dark camera? The power will come on in the next 1 or 2 minutes, so let's just continue. All right, so the Montessori system believes that yes, the environment is enough to make the learner become educated. So through the child learning in that environment, learning from the people and the things in that environment, the child is able to find their place, discover things in the environment. So the Montessori system allows the child to be explorative and curious. So it does not kill the curiosity of the child. It allows the child to explore and discover in their environment. Now, how does this apply in your home? It simply means that in your home, you are going to get your children into doing things for themselves as early as possible, because the Montessori system is hands-on. So when some of us say that our children start doing chores as early as possible, the moment you can move your limbs voluntarily and you can make decisions about where to go using your limb to move yourself, then you are ready to take on tasks that you can do on your own. The principle is, do not do for a child what the child can do for themselves. That's how it works. So in our home, as soon as the child can actually get hand-mouth coordination, so the child can actually take something and put it in their mouth, then the child is ready to feed themselves. So what do? We create the environment and create the resources for the child to do that. So I use high chairs. And I use high chairs because I want the child to stay per time to eat and to feed, to have enough to eat per time. If you don't use something that can restrict the child to eat, okay, then the child will probably not get enough of that food because the child is all over the place, distracted. So we use the high chair. And as soon as the child is old enough to sit there, has hand to mouth coordination, bingo, you put the food there and allow the child make the mess. Remember, Montessori says the children will discover themselves in their environment as they interact with their environment. So as the child is doing that, the child will learn how to deal with carrots. He will learn how to deal with sloppy meals. He will learn how to deal with the ones that draw. The child will figure these things out. But the learning is in the mess. So dear parents, let them make the mess and discover. What we do a lot of the times is we actually kill their instincts. We kill their instincts by not allowing them do things for themselves. We block that natural instinct to discover by cutting the process short, in that we provide the solutions without allowing the child discover the solution on their own. So we kill problem solving skills. We kill their ability to innovate and create and innovate, and what's the other one? Initiate task. They are unable to initiate tasks. They are unable to innovate. They cannot be creative because we want to do it perfectly all the time. So this is it about the Montessori system, and how you can apply it in your home is get the children to do things. And then the moment the child is ready, can move the plate. The child can walk with their leg, right? So good. At that point, the child can walk. It means that when the child finishes eating, the child can lift the plate, take the plate to the kitchen and drop it, even if the child is not, able to wash the dish yet. All right. Now, Montessori will also say, create structures in your home that is child friendly, meaning recognize the fact that you have a child in your home. So even the setting in your home should recognize that there is a small human in your home. So you can actually provide structure, a system in your home where your child has child-size stuff to do the things that they need to do. So at the point that your child can now have hand, and that mental capacity to take a sponge and rub on their plates, the child is ready to wash their plates by themselves. Now create a system where the child can actually do this and initiate this on their own without you having to be the one to tell them what to do all the way. So how you can create that system is to have a stepping chair that the child, I mean stool or whatever. Okay, I used to have this potty. So even in buying or choosing what I get for the children, it has to do with being able to achieve this. So we used to have their potty. The potty was also a stepper. So at the point where they get to that point where they use the potty. The potty stops being a potty after their potty train, and then it becomes a stepper. So they step on it, stand on it, and then they can get to the sink. But in other places, if you can afford it, even get them a small system in your home where they can actually stand, and they have their size, child size, dishwashing system. Basically what that does is it gets the child excited about this activity. It gets the child initiating this activity willingly without being directed. That is the goal. We were created to be independent. God created us to be independent. So as a child, that's why your child gets to the point and the child begins to crawl without you taking them to school to learn how to crawl. Okay, nature will pull the child to crawl when the child gets to that window opportunity or that period, sensitive period for that to happen. Nature will pull the child. Nature pulls the child for every skill. It's just we who do not recognize the time that nature has opened the door for that skill to kick in. So we don't take advantage of it because we don't have knowledge. We don't take advantage of it because we don't know how to stimulate our environment for this to happen. We don't take advantage of it because we think that doing everything for our children is giving them a life. So these are all the issues. All right. So the last one we're going to be talking about is the Radio Emilia approach to education. Give me a second. Let me shut this window. It's a bit noisy. Sorry, guys. All right, sorry. The last philosophy we're going to be talking about is the Radio Emilia philosophy. This philosophy of education I learned. So one of my best friends and my partner is a Radio Emilia trained educator. So she's trained in the radio system for over a decade. So this is the system that she knows. And because she is one of my trusted ally when it comes to supporting my children, and education and all of that, because of that, I've come to learn a bit about this approach, educational approach. Now, this educational approach, believes strongly that children are innovative okay? So this inspiring approach believes that children should be valued, right? That children should be valued. It values children. And it believes that each child has something that they bring, right? Each child brings something within them that is deep, curious, and drives them. So for every child, there is something within every child that is deep, something within every child that each child brings, right? That is deep, that has curiosity. I mean, the child has their own internal curiosity, right? That drives their actions, basically. So it is interested in having children understand their world and understand their place in that world. So the Radio Emilia system believes that every child has the power to educate themselves. There's something within the child that is curious, that when you give the child and you put the child in a natural environment. So radio brings in a lot of nature. Children are allowed to interact with nature a lot in this principle of education. So children are allowed to, interact with nature. It originated from somewhere in Italy, right? So children are allowed to, interact with nature. So meaning there is something, radio believes that every child has an intrinsic thing, an intrinsic curiosity that is deep within them. And if we give them the right environment and we allow them to interact with nature, then they're able to create on their own. So that's why you find out that a lot of people who are creative, think about it. A lot of, all of our what do you call them? A lot of the people, I mean, the founders and the people who innovated, a lot of the things that we have, all, I mean, the artists and all of these great people, okay, most of them came from that part of the world, right? Most of them came from that part of the world. Real deep, I mean, creatives actually came from that part of the world because, hey, it is said within every child there is something that is powerful, there is something that is deep within, that if given the opportunity, the child themselves can express that thing on their own, right? The child themselves can dive deep and I mean, express that thing. So the child is able to understand the world, and the child is able to understand their place, their own place in the world. And with that, the child is able to, I mean, what is that word? Why am I using just innovation? When you create it yourself, is what? Innovation is when you are doing something with what someone has created. Invent, get. So the child is able to invent, on their own. So that's why you find that back then we had a lot of inventors. People were inventing because that invention did not come from what their teachers pointed them to. Many of our inventors, the Thomas Edisons and the rest of them, didn't even have formal education. They were people that tapped into what was within. And because they were given the environment and they were given, the opportunity, they were able to gain those expressions. They were able to apply those expressions that they have within them. They were able to find out how those expressions can alter or can make the world better. And they were able to find themselves because they now understood the world. They were able to find themselves or their place in the world and what they could do to make the world a better place. Now, this is what this, this philosophy of education believes. Now, you have heard me talk about the philosophy, I mean, the Montessori philosophy. You've heard me talk about the Charlotte Mason philosophy. You've heard me talk about the Reggio Emilia philosophy. And of course, all of the recent, educational philosophies that are borrowed from some of these philosophies, the eclectical one, where you have combined different curricula, and all of that curriculum and all of that to form, something that you are using. Based on this, now, what do you think? I believe when it comes to children having extra teachers. Now, if you were me, what would you think if you are asked, or how would you answer if you are asked, does my child need extra lesson? Does my child need a permanent lesson teacher? Do I always have to have lesson teachers for my children? I'm going to be discussing this tomorrow, right? Because the time for the show for today is over. This show is between 20 and 30 minutes, and we have already exceeded our time. We have used about 36 minutes already. All right, so I have shared with you some of the educational philosophies that actually that have led to what I believe about education and how I apply them, in my parenting and in the education of our children. How we apply, or how we have taken these principles and used them to come up with, what we use in our home to educate our children beyond just schooling. So tomorrow I'm going to be sharing why our children need extra lessons or do not need extra lessons, and what we can do if we are parents who have children who have certain needs, or how we can support our children and how we can get other people to support our children. So you don't want to miss the show tomorrow. We will be back here at 8:30 again tomorrow morning, at 8:30 again tomorrow morning, where we will be sharing on the topic, does my child need a lesson teacher for prolonged time? Have a fantastic day, dear parents, and I'll see you tomorrow. And yes, I talked about the Mastermind Circle. If you like your child to be a part of what we do, the amazing things that we do with children in the Mastermind Circle, where we use I bring all of my experiences, all of my child motivation skills, child support skills, and I put them together and work with your children for an entire year. Yes, the Mastermind Circle is a yearly subscription program where your children come in and I get to be their matron. I get to mentor them. They get to mentor themselves. Remember, the Montessori system believes in peer mentorship. They get to mentor themselves, where we actually believe that children education should be, gently paced and should be gentle, where we work with your children gently. And yes, even at that, we're able to move them on the spectrum from a motivation, zero motivation, or external motivation, to your children walking on that spectrum, when they begin to motivate themselves gradually, gradually, until they get to the point of determination, where they can actually do things because they know, they understand, and they want it for themselves, and not just because mommy says, daddy says, I will get into trouble, I will pass, I will fail. They do it because they understand the why. Thank you very much. I'll see you in tomorrow's show. If you'd like to join the Mastermind Circle, we have the information scrolling on your screen right now. Why don't you go ahead and, use the information. If you're on Instagram, we have the information really on our bio. So if you check our bio, you will see the Mastermind Circle. Click on it and you can get into our seller page and all, and register. Apart from that, check in the comment section also. You will have the details that you need to register your child. Okay, or you can just send us a chat message, or a chat, on WhatsApp on 081-306-21566. Thank you for joining me today. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Bye. Bye now. Bye.